Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you, and welcome to the Goal of the Wise. I'm Ardian al-Mahdi, and joined with me is
Hussam al-Mahdi.
And also joined with me is a special guest all the way from Poland who has recently just migrated and joined our ranks and joined our community. Our dear brother from Poland. Assalamu alaikum, brother. This is Zygmunt. Zygmunt is an amazing brother who joined us from Poland, as I keep on repeating. But brother, you're the first Polish Ansar who had migrated. You are someone who we welcomed into our community, and someone who we over the past couple of days have gotten to know, and it's been an honor actually to have you on the show with us.
It's an honor for me also. It's a great honor to be in God's place.
Alhamdulillah. You've met Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, of course, and that's I think you've spoken about it a couple of times on the other shows before this one. And I think it's a magical experience, as you've explained, of course, that Abu Sadiq meeting Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam is like standing in front of a veil of God, like when God is speaking through.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It is a great experience, just imagine being in front of a man appointed by God, knowing that God is talking through him. It is a mystical experience, and I am very happy that I can serve him.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Look, of course, like our show is focused heavily on the Goal of the Wise. The book that Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam has written himself, and he has revealed in it a lot of revelations. From it is the karma, soul families, the nature of the world, dreams and the nature of reality, and all the seventh covenant, all the seven covenants of the prophets and the messengers, and what really happened in those times. So I think it's like the book is one of the most, if not actually the most important book. It is the most important book when it comes to the matter of actually knowing what happened in history.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And like if you really want to know what happened with Adam alayhi salatu wasalam with the tree, if you want to know what happened with Noah alayhi salatu wasalam in the ark, and all the stories of the prophets and the messengers, this book you can download for free on our website, of course. You'll be able to see the QR code right in front of you right now, and if you cannot scan it for any reason, then you are able to go to our website and download the book for free. Also, like we talked about, Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam released a new book, right?
Oh yes, that's right. He released a manifesto. The manifesto is also available on our website at theahmadireligion.org. And it is, he actually just released it a few days ago. And whilst reading it, it's 30 pages long, but it really just goes to show you this manifesto, when you read it, just what it is that we believe in, what our plans are, and how it is that we function as believers and as people who serve the Imam of our time, and not only just serve the Imam of the time, but also serve humanity. And I think that is something that a lot of people in the world are missing out on. They're missing out on service to humanity. Everyone is out there to serve themselves. Like, for example, capitalism, right? It's a system in which you serve yourself,
right.
in which I come first and everyone else is last.
Of course.
As long as I'm happy, that is all that matters. As long as I feel fulfilled, then I'm good. I should not feel guilty because, hey, we're living in a world where I come first. But the Imam and Abu Sadiq, from him is peace, through this book teaches us that no, it's really humanity first. And from the manifesto we see that it's humanity first, that everybody shares and that everyone lives equally under the guidance and under the banner of God and allegiances to God.
Yeah, and I think you read the manifesto as well, right?
Yes, it's a very important document that can be used to show people what we are about, what are our goals. And it's a great document that is very important. You have, for example, Manifesto of Communists. Then if you read it, you can actually get the idea what the communism is about. You have manifestos of different ideologies. And now we have our own manifesto when we can basically show it to the people. We can tell them, look, this is our idea, and actually it is a manifesto of people of God. So it's something great. It's something great.
I love how you explained it. I think that's spot on. You have the manifestos. Many people were confusing us, actually, even on the live TikToks and when we're communicating with people on a daily basis. They were confusing us for communism, socialism. They were like, they did not know where to place us, right? They did not know. For sure, they knew that we say democracy or like voting for a leader or a king or a president is just not from God. For sure, they know that, because we say it loud and clear, using our free speech, of course. But the idea is that they did not know how to pinpoint us. How they didn't know where we are. What are we really? But you mentioned it very clearly. It's like we are a people of God. We don't believe in man-made law. We don't believe in man-made systems. We believe that God, who is much wiser than the wisest of human beings to ever exist on the face of the earth, He's the one who has the best, most perfect system for humanity to run a smooth country by God, state that is ruled by a divinely appointed king, a philosopher king, somebody who is actually who's in connection with God through the Holy Spirit. So I think when you read the manifesto, you'll find that our system really, if implemented, and we are implementing it on a small scale, right? Since you've joined the Dawah and you did the Hijrah, you've entered into the state, a small mini kind of model of the divine justice state.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that has happened throughout history after the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ until today, where the Qa'im ﷺ is actually resurrecting the state of the divine, of God, the state of the apostles, the state of Jesus Christ, the state of the King Solomon, King David, the state of like all the Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. So I think that's one of the things that would put us on a different caliber altogether than the other manifestos that exist out there. There are other movements out there.
Yes. We believe that the community should be ruled by the wisest man. And this is actually something that should be logical for every person. Like, if you find yourself in a world that is not in a good condition and you see that you have people that shouldn't be really ruling and shouldn't be in those positions that they are, and you see that some people are really not wise, you go to the conclusion that, okay, so there are people that are wiser than me. So the goal of every human should be like find the man that is the wisest of all the humans and let him basically rule over the community, the wisest man. And not even we believe in that concept, but we also believe that this man should be appointed by God, and we don't only believe in it, but we have proofs that we are following it. So really, you can just read the manifesto, see what we are about, and also read the Goal of the Wise. And we invite you to join us, to join the Ark actually, because this is the Ark of salvation. This is the Ark of our times. You can see that around we have wars, we have hunger, we have basically stupidity everywhere around. And if you are really searching for bringing good to humanity, for establishing goodness, and you are really a believer in goodness, please just read our manifesto and get interested in this. And I guarantee you that if you are sincere about it, you will find that this is the best thing that you can do in this dunya, in this world, in this reality. There is nothing better than you can do than just trying to make things better.
Yeah.
Well said, brother. And, the idea that sincerity is the key. As you said, if the human being is sincere in his path to knowing the truth, to knowing God in anything in life, they will come to a conclusion, they will come to the truth, they will come to what it is that they are aiming for because of their sincerity. And Zygmunt, you've mentioned to us before, and I'm pretty sure you've mentioned this on the other lives, where you're a person who basically came from a Catholic background, some Orthodoxy, also from a Christian, Orthodox background as well. So 50-50, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
So, you transitioned easily, it seems, from what we heard from you, in your search with God, in your sincerity with God, from Catholicism to being a supporter of the Mahdi. I mean, how did that happen for you?
Half of my family from my dad's side is Catholic, from my mother's side is Orthodox. And how did it happen that I joined this call? It's actually a long story that I can briefly say that it was just searching for God and just praying to God that please make me just follow you, make me be sure that I am obeying you. And at some point in my life, I decided to read the Quran after I met an Arab guy who told me to read it. He told me about the Mahdi. I was open-minded. I was searching for God. I didn't want to be stupid, basically. If I know that there is some entity that is wiser than me and more powerful than me, then of course I want to serve it. This is something that I wanted to follow, and I recommend everybody to do it. And I found this call after reading the Quran, after going right out of this box that, you have to stick only to this religion that you are born within, and being anti-Islamic. This is not wise, especially when you know that Jesus is in the Quran, if you get to know this fact, because not a lot of Christians know this. Some of Christians think that Jesus is not even a part of Islam. So after investigating it more, I had this certitude that this is the call of God. I think even if you come from Buddhist background, even if you come from agnostic background, you will find it. Basically, just use your logic, read this book, of course. If you are looking for knowledge, basically, if you are looking for something actually to do in this world, because this is a crazy world right now, and you are looking for something that is actually normal, good, true, and you want to do something in your life that is actually cool, good, and you want to obey God, just follow us, follow the Mahdi Has Appeared channel, watch the lectures, watch this book, and you will see that this is the best thing you can do. Please, we're trying to do something good here.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. No, we're trying.
Yeah. And we are doing it.
And we are doing it.
That's why you are here. That's why we are here. We are here because we were at some point, and everybody who is in the community of Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam has at some point decided to fly over to Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, to come to him, because we heard his call. We recognized the truth that he's presenting for us, and we recognized that this man is the only man who can actually solve the most complicated human problems we've ever faced with intelligence and wisdom. And that's why we follow him. It's not like we follow just because we enjoy the kind of knowledge that he shares with us, right? A lot of the knowledge that Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam has placed in the gospel of the Goal of the Wise is quite heavy on people to handle. It's not something that is very light to digest. It's something that will challenge your perception of reality. It'll challenge your preconceived notions that were fed to you by your your parents, by your school, by your friends, by your scholars and teachers and rabbis and monks and sheikhs and imams and ayatollahs. So you have to understand that what we're calling for is not something that is going to be like a sugar-coated kind of religion, right? It is something that is real, truth. And Jesus alayhi salatu wasalam, I think, said it very clearly. He said, many things I have to say unto you, but you can't bear it now. So why would they not be able to bear it if it was sugar-coated, if it was like sweet as honey, right? If the truth is sweet, Jesus would have easily been able to share it and everybody would be able to digest it and love it. But even at that time, they couldn't have handled it. Prophet Muhammad is the same.
Yeah, but like that's why Jesus also spoke in parables rather than speaking out in the open about what was within him, because he also didn't want other people to take his message and to spread it to the people who were not worthy of it. And that's why we find this very famous term by Jesus, not to put a necklace of pearls on the neck of swines. But yeah, Jesus is a very heavy, hardcore character who came with heavy knowledge, who came with beautiful knowledge also, and things that make the world make sense. And Abu Sadiq has done the same thing. Actually, Abu Sadiq really exploded knowledge into the ether of this world. He really showed us what it was in history that we were missing out on, as you said, because part of the goal of the wise, especially the first 7 chapter, deals with that. It deals with the history of mankind. So Zygmunt, one thing that I wanted to ask you too is, because you've read the book, right? You've been a believer for, I believe, over the past year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, almost a year.
Yeah, almost a year. You've read the book fully. As we understand. So when you read the book, how did it what was your reaction basically when you read the book, when you picked it up? What was it that made you feel like, wow, this book for sure is like something from God?
I started reading this book after I watched the lectures. So even before reading the book, I was pretty sure that this human Abu Sadiq, from him is peace, he is appointed by God and he have incredible wisdom. I'm sure that if you will watch some of his lectures, you will see, even if you are skeptic about it, you will see, maybe I'm not agreeing with this man, but this man has a lot of sense. So I was starting to reading this book just as it was recommended by brothers. And I was expecting that it will be even more deep, even more eye-opening, and it really was. It wasn't like that I read it and I thought, it's a pretty wise book, it's good, this man has a good knowledge. He's one of the big wise humans around the earth. I was knowing that I actually read the gospel of our times. This was pretty obvious when I was reading it, because the wisdom that is in this book, the facts and all the stories of the Bible, according to Judaism, according to Christianity, and the stories from the Quran are put together and they make perfect sense. You have a lot of religious disagreements around the world, and try to put it all together to have absolutely sense and to have no agreements between rabbis, imams, and priests. And actually, our leader has done that. I'm telling you, he's done that. He just, in this book and in his lectures and by his, by this what he's, but by his...
solving the puzzle that's out there.
Yeah, he solved the puzzle. Yeah,
or connected the dots, basically.
Yeah, he connected all the dots. He solved the reality. He is truly the man that everyone should follow to basically defeat evil on the earth. Right. This is the book that is the opposite of the Mein Kampf, literally.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, it really is.
I think one thing you said before when we were talking earlier was that Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam is almost like the when we were born and we were given like a picture that was very foggy, something that didn't make too much sense. We're trying to see it, we believe it, we go like, okay, this is from God, then we'll believe it, but we didn't really see all the details. We don't know exactly what
clear.
we're looking at, you know?
Yeah, it was like it was like taking a picture, or like someone taking a picture, but it came out blurry.
Very blurry.
And like they're like, okay, here, take a look at this
God.
picture.
Here, take it, believe it since you're a kid, you know? Like, and you did, we do. As we trust, our elders, we trust our families, we trust everybody who's teaching us about God since we're a child, since our childhood, because that's what we're susceptible to do. But at some point, you start questioning, right? You go like, okay, is this really real? And then when you start to do that, and you read the Goal of the Wise, it's almost like Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam is retuning the frequency to make you see the reality, the bigger picture in a way that is so crystal clear. It is the equivalent of a 4K image. It's like you cannot see it clearer, because he lays it down in such a way that even the chronological order of the chapters, each one of them unlocks something next. And then when you reread it again, it's almost like it does even more work on you. It's such an intense book. Really.
It's a book that doesn't just state whatever it wants to state, but it states information with the evidence that comes along with it. So, like, for example, when you read the First Covenant, right?
Yeah.
We went over about how the tree was not really a tree. And maybe most people would think, well, okay, maybe that's something that the author is just making up. It just wants to sell a nice idea, a new age idea. But in reality, he says, the book is clear. It basically shows that, hey, it's not his idea. Yeah. He shows us evidence that this is something that the prophets and messengers talked about, that the imams from the family of Muhammad, from them his peace, mentioned that the tree was not really a tree.
Right.
And Zygmunt, I think, don't you also feel the same way that when you read this book, when you picked it up, like, there was no argument against it. Like, if you tried finding like a hole in it, if you tried finding a hole in the book, like as in like, no, this doesn't make sense, or no, this cannot be proven, and this cannot possibly be true. Did you ever encounter anything of the sort in this book? I'm pretty sure not.
No, I didn't find it, and actually, the Qaim said that if, according to the scriptures, if you find something that is not clear in this dawah, that doesn't stick, that you don't understand basically, hold on tightly to it, and then after it will be solved for you, something like this. I'm paraphrasing right now. It will be solved. And even if I didn't understand something and I was like, I don't understand, like I understand 20 things, but this one, it's hard, I was like, okay, he said, hold on tightly to it. And I did it. And after a while, everything that I was questioning and was not sure about in this call, then it was solved for me.
It started to make sense.
Patience, and then submission, for sure. And I think you gave the example of the tree of Adam that alayhi salatu wasalam Abu Sadiq from his piece, he said he revealed for us, right? He revealed what is the tree. And that actually the tree in the story of Adam and Eve was a person, was the person of Fatima Zahra alayhi salatu wasalam, which is also mentioned in Nag Hammadi as Zoe. Yeah. So there is a link that was made between Christianity and Islam that was not made by the priests and rabbis and of the mainstream at all.
Muslim scholars never mentioned it.
And Muslim scholars, in fact, they do takfir to you if you do something like this. Immediately they would call you a kafir, and they would stamp you as a heretic. So the moment you start to use biblical sources, or the moment you start to use the Bible and the Torah to actually prove a point, to make a connection between what the Prophet said and what the prophets before said, immediately you're a heretic. You cannot do that.
Out of the fold of Islam suddenly.
Exactly, you just came out, exit. So while the Imam or Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam explained that in fact the tree was not just a tree, this is just a metaphor. The word tree is a metaphor for a human being, and that human being is the source of life or the origin of life that is in heaven.
Yep.
It's something so massive that to know that Fatima Zahra alayhi salatu wasalam, who's the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, from him is peace, the idea is that knowing that Fatima Zahra is that person who is mentioned as the tree who Adam alayhi salam has like approached, in the Garden of Eden, is something that is mind-boggling to the Shia. Like, this is very heavy for a Shia person to actually believe in.
Yeah, but it wasn't heavy for Zom. Sorry,
Zygmunt. Yes, it wasn't heavy for him. Why? Because he didn't have the brainwashing of the scholars, right? Like, this is you said earlier too, one thing which I loved is like, you said that, wow, so, like if you look at the scholars and you find Imam Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, you find Abu Sadiq talking against them.
Yeah. Yes. If you are coming from the Catholic background, you can be actually have the mentality that Islam is something that is actually something that you should be an enemy of, and the ceremony when Abu Sadiq exposes the Arab traitors make it clear that this is something completely different than the mainstream Islam. This is something completely different. He's against the people that are the evil people that are. It is actually written in Islamic scriptures that the imams of the end of the times will be the worst of them. And from Islam there will remain nothing except for its name. This should give you this, so the end of the times, I knew a lot of mysteries about end of the times, that it will be revealed, and this is one of the mysteries. And a lot of mysteries are revealed in this book.
It's true. And like one of the things that is really interesting when you say that is like, yes, nothing of Islam is left except for the name. How many sects of Islam do we have? I mean, this is a problem that you'll find it in Christianity, in Islam, you'll find it in Judaism, you'll find it in Buddhism, and all these sects of religions, no matter which sect you are, the idea, or what religion you follow, there is always sectarianism divide in it. So the idea is that just how do you then identify the man of God? Like this is what we place on the table that is so unique and so different from every other sect. We're saying that God is the one who chooses through the appointment of by the person who's before him. So, say for example, the Prophet Jesus ﷺ comes, he has to anoint somebody after him. Who's that? It's Simon Peter. We can prove that from the Bible, that he actually did appoint Simon Peter. Catholic Church actually believes that, right?
Of course.
They built their entire concept is on apostolic kind of succession, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe you can tell the people about how we're connected to that in a way.
Yeah, Catholics believe that Saint Peter was the first pope, and we actually have the real pope is our leader. Even right now, a lot of Catholics know that there is something wrong in the Catholic Church, but they still go to the Catholic Church. They have this mentality. I know the Pope could be the Antichrist. There are also these theories that the Pope is the Antichrist. And in our religion, that is actually the religion of Adam and Eve and all the prophets. It is clear. It is. You can see the Pope having his lectures, and you can see his people. You can call us right now, or in different shows. You can message us, and I invite you to this religion. I invite you to read the Call of the Wise.
Yeah, it's amazing. Really, the Pope is the Pope of the Catholic Church has been one of the figures that are very debated on because we've exposed quite a bit, because we're saying okay, guys, if this is how God representative is, somebody who lives in a castle by himself, and there are refugees or there are people who are poor that are living right outside his door, and he is the owner of one of the most secretive banks in the world. They are proud, the Catholic Church is proud of how much money they have. They have billions and trillions of dollars, right? They actually are proud, and they puff their chest and say, yes, we have 1.5 billion to 2 billion followers around the world. We are the biggest religious organization, the Christian organization. So they are proud of that. But the fact that there are so many cases against them, like, you know, like from pedophilia to torture cases to all kinds of like underground like dealings with satanic rituals and stuff like that we've exposed, that are it's really a wonder why certain people who actually after investigation they still continue to follow the Catholic Church after we've exposed them so much. While we have Abu Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam on the other hand, who's a man who's literally sacrificed and burnt his whole life for the sake of the people. Like literally he did exactly what the prophets and the messengers did before. They gathered their supporters and they've like built a small mini divine just state where it's based on selflessness, not selfishness, right? Which is what the system of the Catholic Church right now. I mean, why do they have so many billions of dollars? And there are people who are in their country that are poor. How does that make sense?
Yeah, they're not following what the disciples did, because in the book of Acts, you know, it's very clearly stated and shown that they had this model of a divine just state in which everybody lived together, they lived in communion, and in that communion they shared in all things. They did not own any material wealth for themselves, which is why the followers of Christ, the followers of the disciples, would sell their properties, they would sell their homes, and they would gather all that money and put it at the feet of the disciples. Not so this way the disciples can get rich and eat off the money of their followers and rip them off, but they use that money in order to facilitate the affairs and the livelihoods of the followers of Jesus Christ.
The community itself, the community needs support, so we have to all pitch in so that we can help everybody stay off of the ground, stay off of sleeping on the streets, stay off of put a roof over everybody's head so that they don't sleep in the rain, so they don't have to deal with sicknesses and illnesses without being able to go to a doctor, so that they can eat food without going hungry. How does it make sense that a church is supposed to represent God, and it's Pope who's supposed to carry the keys to the heavens and the earth, and whatever is bound on earth he binds in heaven. Yet there are people who are living under his rulership in poverty, and there are people who are around him in poverty, and he's not actually doing anything about it. How does that make sense?
Well, I mean, it's against Christ. It's against the teachings of Christ. Therefore, it is an anti-Christ system.
That's exactly right.
It is basically... I mean, the Catholic Church is what now? I mean, it's a show. It's just an industry that now just collects money from you. The Pope parades around and like God knows what he's wearing. And, you know, the people back in the day, I remember when Pope Benedict was in office, you know, there used to be like these people that would make fun of the Pope, people who were Christians even, that would say, you know, hey, pray for the poor while I hold this big, gigantic golden cross. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, how about
it's a mockery of God. That's what it is. What they've done with religion is that they're mocking God with these kind of things. You know, they're saying, hey, you know, look at how we can misguide the people by putting a golden staff in my hand and a big massive hat that's like representative of all these secret cultish kind of like belief systems, and yet at the same time people follow us, you know, by the billions. How does that make sense?
Yeah, and actually it's really interesting how in the Goal of the Wise you can see who is the Antichrist and how obvious it is when it is explained. You know, everybody is waiting for the Antichrist, for the Dajjal, and in the Goal of the Wise you can find the answer, who it is, and that it is actually system also. We have the system of Antichrist. And it's so obvious that, you know, and Pope doesn't know this, or he doesn't say this, or he doesn't get it, that, you know, basically if someone chooses, if you give choice for someone to choose someone other than a prophet, like people chose Barabbas instead of Jesus, it is antichristic system, because to be an antichrist, it means to go anti-Christ, to be against him. And who is more against the prophet and against the Christ than those who choose someone else than Christ? So when you have, for example, system of democracy, it is enabling people to choose someone other than the prophet. Even if someone is the wisest man in the town or in the community, the system of democracy is giving a legal way to vote against this man if someone just doesn't like him, or or he just wants to do evil, you know. He can just vote against this person, you know.
Yeah, it's like really, it's so interesting you say that, because yes, of course, voting against Jesus Christ or murdering him, voting to murder Jesus Christ, is for sure agreeable by every Christian in the world and by every Muslim in the world, that a system like that would be considered a anti-Christ system, because it's against Christ's system. So the idea is that minimum, what's the weirdest or the strangest part is that right now that same anti-Christ system is being clothed with the church clothings, you know, like in the priest's robes, you know. Right now they're dressed up as if it's actually the system of Jesus.
Yes, and
you know?
it is quite ridiculous that it is written in the Bible that beware of false prophets that come to you in wearing sheep's clothing, and inside they are wolves. And you have it so obvious that these are the imams, priests, and the rabbis. They are like having these clothes that having this impact of society. Oh, there's a holy man here, when actually they have nothing to do with God if they are not following the prophet of our time. And this is quite like comic and showing the times that we are living, the craziness of these times, that sometimes even they could like read this verse in the church, although I never heard it to be read never heard any priest that was reading this in the church. But imagine a priest in a great, you know, fashion, in a great clothes that say to the community that this is a holy man, or you know, the clothes of the priest basically, and he's reading, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in clothes of sheep, and they are wolves." And then you see him next that he's driving a very like expensive car, where people are begging outside of his church.
My God, the mega churches are crazy, right?
The ones who even, you know, they even own private jets, some of them, and they're like, oh, you know, I'm using it for God's mission. You know, actually, God gave me this jet, but like, how did they get this jet?
I can dream. You cannot stop me dreaming. That's what they say, these preachers. So the idea is that they use emotions, they use feelings, they use like powerful motivational speeches, which is, as we know, speech is a part of magic. So you can actually like influence people quite a bit. You should study a little bit of the psychology of hypnosis, you know, like in how people get hypnotized by sound. You know, like you can actually make somebody forget their life with sound. You can actually stop somebody in their track and make them fall asleep and do what you want them to do, and they would not remember that they've done that just purely by commands. So the idea is that you have to be careful and aware and conscious. Why does Jesus say, be aware of those false prophets who come and wearing this? Because they wear that attire, so you trust automatically. You have a bit of trust. You lower your guard. You start to trust. You know, what's trust? Trust is you're lowering your guard, right? So you lowered your guard to this person. Suddenly he starts to speak. When he speaks, he adds a lot of truth and a little bit of falsehood here, or sometimes falsehood with a little bit of truth in there. So you just he mixes poison with cake. You know, to the point where you're eating, you say it's tasty, it's nice. He's telling me go help the poor. He's telling me like be nice. He's telling me be moral. He's telling me this and that. He's guiding me to a nice stuff.
But
he's
yet slowly he's killing you.
But then he tells you go vote.
Yeah.
You know, like now it sounds sweet too.
Yeah. Or you have obvious situation where you find that the man that people are voting for, he rules terribly, and it's pretty obvious that he shouldn't be ruling. How it is possible that a man who is actually who people claim that he's speaking on behalf of God, doesn't mention it, like, guys, don't vote on this man, because he is not ruling well. We don't vote for this man. They are like, oh, we don't engage in politics. Why?
Yeah.
This is actually the most important thing you should do. You should actually say who we should follow if you are from God, and not like not be interested in politics, because this is the most important thing in society, one of the most important for sure. And this is something very important that priests should be like.
We invite all the priests into discussions with us about the matter of the Qa'im of Abba Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, because we believe that this man has the Holy Spirit with him. So if you are actually an honest to God priest, if you're an honest to God, I mean, this is your last chance basically, because the idea is that God's flood is coming, and you guys are not immune from that. The churches are not immune from that. The mosques and all of these different massive mega churches are not like immune from this massive blood flood that is coming to this planet. And we all know that this is happening right now, right as we're talking. Beirut in Lebanon is being bombarded by the Israeli forces now. Bombarded, proper bombardment. Like hundreds of people are dying, thousands are being injured, and even more. And the idea is that if you think or imagine for a moment that what's happening right now is gonna escalate, like go down and settle down, you're in dreamland.
And by the way, it's this is not something that we were not expecting, because actually Abba Sadiq the year before, before maybe even a little bit more, had mentioned that these things would come to pass. He had told us, and I believe it was even recorded, and it was even broadcasted on YouTube, and now it's also being broadcasted on TV through the replays. That Abba Sadiq talked about these countries, talked about what would happen, and talked about how the punishment would be befalling the Muslims in the Middle East. Due to why? Due to the fact that the Muslims unfortunately broke their covenant with God the Almighty.
Right.
The only way that humanity can be saved, the only way that we can move forward and ensure that the people of the Middle East and the whole entire world are under God's protection and are able to be living in a state in which they are living happy and fulfilled lives, is only through obedience and pledging allegiance to the Imam of the time, the Mahdi, who was promised to come, who the hadiths literally state he comes to fill the world with justice and equity after it has been filled with injustice and oppression.
Right.
And what do we see happening in the world today except that? The ark right now is moving, and those who embark on it are saved, and those who do not embark on it, like the so-called son of Noah and the scholars and the people of the time of Noah, the people of that time who are drowned will also be like the people of this time who will unfortunately drown in the punishment that is to come. And obviously this is something that we do not wish upon the people. This is something that is just a warning to the people that unless you embark on this ark and take this call very seriously and take our warning seriously, we are looking at a world which we will not be able to recognize anymore.
Yeah, like, you know that this is the end times. You heard about the story of Noah and the Ark of Noah. This is the Ark of our times.
Exactly.
Congratulations, you found it.
Yes.
Check it out.
You searched, and Jesus said, those who seek shall find.
You found the ark, but now it's up to you to embark on the ark.
Yeah.
Just like our brother over here, Zygmunt, who embarked on the ark and came upon it and said, you know what?
Yeah.
This is the truth. I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to join this community. And Brother Zygmunt, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and we're so happy that you're a part of this family, your true family, and we look forward to being with you until the very end, and not just in this world, but in many worlds to come. So thank you, Zygmunt.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, brother. That's a pleasure. Anyway, we'll move on, and we're ending the show here. But thank you all for having us. Thank you, Zygmunt, for being here. And as always, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.